What is going on, everybody? Thank you for tuning in to another edition of On the Road to Victory. I'm your host, Jimmy Smith, and I hope you're all having yourselves a great weekend. I know I've had a great weekend so far. Last night, the Phillies with the World Series Game 1 win. And then tonight, got to spend some family time. Froze my ass off in a corn maze, but it was a great time. But I hope you are all having yourselves a great weekend. Appreciate you taking the time, whether you're watching this live, watching this later. Truly appreciate you. But as I told you throughout the week, I was going to give you another trade show with the trade deadline coming up in a couple days here. I want to talk about some of these candidates. So let's jump into this. And of course, I'm going to give you some of those details here just in case you miss anything. But appreciate each and every one of you. If you have any questions or comments throughout this show, please feel free to leave them down below. My man Drew in the building. What is going on, my dude? Hope you're having yourself a great weekend so far. I'm rearing and gearing. Had a great night with the family. Got to go out to this corn maze and do all kinds of crazy little side things in between. And it's like an Alice in Wonderland maze. Like, it was pretty neat. Had a great time, but I hope you're doing well. Appreciate you taking the time, my man. Oates in the building. Wall and Oates. I'm ready to go through a wall tomorrow. I'll tell you that. Sixers game is on right now. We were up by 11 last I saw, but going to get back to that as soon as this show is over. But a lot of wins would be great this weekend for Philadelphia. I'm all about it. Still trying to warm myself up here a little bit, but not going to take long once we're talking some birds here. Yes, it was a great time, my man. We definitely had fun. It started getting cold at the end there. My ears and nose. I was like, dude, I'm Beach Street here. I know they're probably feeling it. And dude, there was like an outside basketball thing. So of course we were shooting some hoops there. There was like a huge slide. It was all kinds of nuts stuff. It was pretty cool. But yeah, man, it was a great time. But now it's time to talk that trade talk we talked about earlier. I had mentioned, I put together a bunch of stuff. So with the deadline coming up on the first here at 4:00, got to get the deals in. But the Eagles, look, they've still got cap space. They've still got plenty of picks in the future. So you see here, look, I've said it before. I don't necessarily want to use our first couple rounds of picks throughout these next few years, but those back end ones, look, this team, we are building something special. So if you feel you need something this year, maybe we use one of those, maybe a pick swap, all of those great things. But let's get into it. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about these top 20 potential trade targets for the Eagles. And some of these names out there, we are going to talk about some of them just because I know you guys want to. But yeah, we'll talk about the likelihood, all that great stuff. But obviously, and if you've been living under a rock, you maybe missed it, but Robert Quinn was traded to the Eagles. So when we last talked about, this trade special, the number one target for the Eagles was edge rusher. So Robert Quinn, one of the names we talked about there, we ended up getting him. So we are not going to talk about edge rushers tonight. Now, I'm not against adding more if that's what you want to do. I don't think we necessarily need to do that now that Sweat, Graham, and Quinn are on that one side of the rotation. Then you've got the Johnson, Kyron, and Patrick with being backups to Hassan Reddick. So I like our pass rush. I love the interior. But just in case you're wondering, here are some names that we talked about last time. Look, Jerry Hughes, another veteran guy in here. I wouldn't be against it. I don't think the Eagles are going to go after Brian Burns, use up those high picks, or a Bradley Chubb. But, maybe you get a Marcus Davenport. Maybe, all kinds of stuff could happen. But I think we're probably good on edge rusher here. So we've got our guy, Robert Quinn. So let's just get into the rest of the guys we can talk about. Now, when talking about these guys, keep in mind, I'm not going through all the people in the NFL that are trade targets. I'm talking about the guys I think the Eagles could. And look, if you're a fan of another team, you could probably find some names here because I've got plenty of stuff for you here. But I'm focused on the positions that are most talked about and the ones I feel the Eagles should focus on. So first and foremost, a lot of people talk about wide receiver. Now, a guy like Eli Moore, he wants out of New York. And look, this is his second year, still a very young man, but he is really good. We know he's very talented out of Mississippi. And this kid, it's not a great sign to see somebody like, look, I want playing time. And when you've got guys like A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith here. So not something I think is probably in the works, but I know a lot of people want to talk about him. And for me, he's very talented. And I'd love to have a kid like him on our team. But I think just the way his contract is with a second round pick and everything he's got going on, not so sure that is a fit for the Eagles. But hey, man, they want to do something like that. Why not? And the kid's got return ability, so why not? And now another kid that was very good in a second round pick with some return ability, and another little guy, 5'9", 178. But he is a kid that I think could be let loose in a certain offense, and we haven't seen much out of Quez Watkins. I'm not sure it's really Quez Watkins' fault. And not to say that, it's Jalen Hurts doing something wrong. It's just there's so many weapons in this offense. So I don't know. Maybe you want to add another burner to this team. And man, that would be wild to see he and Quez on the field at the same time. Maybe you allow him to do the returning because he did that in college, not much in the NFL here. But, he's a very talented young man. So maybe that's somebody I know a lot of people want to talk about. So I threw him up there. Why not take a gander at KJ Hamler here out of Penn State? And look, I love him. He's really talented, but I'm a big fan of Quez as well. I guess, I just don't like Quez as a returner, so I guess KJ brings you that. But if you want to talk about somebody that could really help you on offense here, I think, and he hasn't done much in the NFL, but you got to look at what the Seahawks are doing there. He's got guys in front of him, and I just think that he would be perfect in this offense. You could really use him in a multitude of ways, and he's got that skill set. And he's another one that you could use as a returner if you wanted. But this is his second year out of Western Michigan and a second-round pick. But he's got 3 years left on that contract. And I think, man, if you could unleash this kid, again, not used a lot, so his stats aren't jumping off the page at you. But, man, I would be okay with seeing him in this offense. That's a gadget player, something I think Nick Sirianni wanted to do with Jalen Reagor, and that was just not possible. So Dwayne Eskridge, you guys remember, we talked about him a couple years ago in that draft, last year, whatever. I think that, man, he would be perfect. So, hey, take a shot at somebody that could help you on the offense and bring you some return capability. Now, someone that would definitely not cost you much, another low-end kind of pick here, maybe a pick swap, a 6th, 7th kind of thing, a Khalif Raymond. And I know this isn't a name you're like, what the look, I'm just talking about people that are possibly available, and they're going to be getting Jameson Williams, not probably anytime soon, few weeks here, but Amon St. Brown is back, and they've got a lot of receivers there. So Quentin Cephas, I think, is supposed to come back soon. So maybe he is somebody that is expendable, and maybe someone, and he has got, this kid's really talented, actually. And I know people, you're like, what? He's a journeyman, man. I think he's been on the Giants even, but I remember him on the Titans. But this dude, he's played for a couple other teams, but only started 18 games. But he's got over 1,100 yards there, 13.7 yards per catch. I like that, man. And, as I had mentioned, he actually does have some nice return stats, no touchdowns, but 23.5 yards per return, 10.6 yards per punt return. So a decent returner. And if that's what the Eagles are looking for, and I'll be honest with you, I think the blocking needs to be a little bit better for the Eagles return game. But look, if they want to upgrade there, get somebody that's better at kick returning than Covey, because they didn't want to use Britton Covey as a kick returner, you guys remember, but he has been now because Quez just couldn't get anything going. But they're just not really blocking, so it's hard to tell. But I would have Covey as a punt returner, maybe somebody that comes in on offense here as a receiver and has some return capability. But you see another guy, Greg Dortch. They are loaded in Arizona, but they keep having injuries. Now, Marquise Brown's supposed to come back in a few weeks, so maybe they, are letting people go. They've got A.J. Brown there. They've got Rondale Moore there. They just traded for Robbie Anderson. So with Rondale Moore in front of him as a slot guy, I think, he is expendable. And 1 year left, a small contract, maybe we could re-sign him, whatever, but a little dude, and he's got, not only can he help you as a slot wide receiver, not that we don't have it with Zach Pascal and, Quez Watkins in different ways there, but I think that, again, this is the lowest on the totem pole for me here. I don't really think this is a need, but I know a lot of people want to talk about it, so that's what I'm doing right now. But look, he did pretty well, got a couple touchdowns when he was able to come in when they had all those injuries, so look, I like the kid. I think that it's a possibility, and he brings you that return game. Now, not the greatest, 22.3 yards per return, kick return, and 6.1 with punts. But I think that this dude, honestly, for me, I would like a kid like him on my team. I just don't know that we need anybody necessarily at this position. So for me, I'm good. I don't think we need a wide receiver. I like our wide receiver room. I know a lot of people want to talk about it, but maybe they want to upgrade there. Maybe they feel they need something there. I don't know, but I wanted to throw those names out there for you just in case, So we'll get into the next position here in a second. Teams are starting to learn to avoid talking Howie. Yeah, start with crazy asking price. Look, man, Howie's been fleecing people, and this is one of the things I've been trying to tell people for a year, and people keep, people get mad at me for telling them, like, look, Howie's good at this stuff, and we are building a dynasty. And you saw all the hate I got, and it's like, dude, the dude's a master. And I wasn't trying to upset anyone. It's just like, that's just the way it is. So yeah, they're learning, man. Everybody's learning. This dude is the real deal. I love it. Watch the film breakdown. The teams are trying to stop Jalen's deep ball, dude. They're going to have to stop everything. And that's what we talked about. As this playbook opens up, as Jalen Hurts continues to progress, teams are in trouble, man. And Quez Watkins is going to have a chance to do those things. And that's what I mean when I say I don't necessarily feel we need a wide receiver. So it is what it is. But yeah, this team's only going to get better. So I'm pretty excited about it. Blocking does need to improve, but Covey does appear to go down to it. Well, I think he's more, he can help you in the punt return game. It's a different skill set. I think kick returning, just not that guy for that. You're getting harder hits. You can be more elusive with punt. It's different. It's different. And I feel that a kick returner, we'll talk about some guys that I would maybe have them there. Have Covey still if you want. And he can do the punts, and you hope that he continues to get better. Maybe he bulks up next year, use him as a kick returner. I'd keep him around. I like the kid's promise. Maybe he could be, helpful at the slot receiver. That's why I don't necessarily feel I want to go after any of those other guys. But a Dwayne Eskridge, maybe, he is enticing. And I don't think it would cost you anything for him. So if you're spending chump change, yeah, take a shot at somebody. Why not? Now, let's get into some running backs, because I know you want to talk about running backs. So let's talk about the one everybody wants to talk about, Alvin Kamara. This is a guy for me, though. I don't think the Eagles are going to do this, and especially not for what you're hearing out there. A first-round pick, we're not giving the first-round pick back to the Saints. That's just not happening. We're not going to give them our first-round pick either. That's not happening. So, look, his money, that's not a big deal. You can spread things out. You can, they have to take on a certain amount. That's not something you got to worry about. We could happily trade for him. I just don't think the Eagles need to do that right now. I think with Miles Sanders, Kenny Gainwell, you've kind of got the skill sets going on, but Alvin Kamara is the real deal, man. He is a really talented back, and I'm not going to deny that. So you've seen what he's been able to do, not only running the ball, but receiving, dude. Holy shit. He's almost got, well, I think he does actually. Oh man, 10,000 yards almost. That's crazy. Over 9,000. So that's awesome. Right over 9,000. That's beautiful to see. I think this dude, he's going to be continuously, or 8,000, Jesus. I think he's really going to be special for the next few years. He's not, lost too much. I think with injuries, it's definitely hurt him. But this dude, 20 receiving touchdowns on top of his 47 rushing touchdowns. I mean, he is fun to watch. I would love to have him. So if the Eagles would go ahead and trade for him, I'm not going to be pissed off. And he does bring you some return ability. So if you were to keep Miles Sanders and have Alvin Kamara and have a 1-2 punch of those guys, look, he could go back there and return the ball too. So I would be all for that, not against it. But I don't think that one's happening. Now, on to the next one, Kareem Hunt. I think, this is a very talented player. We all know the things off the field, but hey, look, we're trying to give people second chances. And this dude, obviously, he has been pretty special on the field. So people seem to forget things like that pretty easily, but we're talking football here. And I think that this dude, he really, he brings something to the table that a lot of running backs don't. He's a jack of all trades. He can do it all. And he's really fun to watch. So you added him with Miles Sanders, that would be quite the scary 1-2 punch. Kind of reminds you of Jay Ajayi, not just because of the damn dreadlocks, because his playing style, he runs tough, but he can catch the ball, run the ball, he can block. Love it. Love it, love it, love it, love it. So you see almost 4,000 rushing yards, over 1,600 receiving yards, 17 receiving touchdowns, 31 rushing. So the dude's got a lot of talent. I don't know that the Eagles want to go after a guy like him. He's probably looking to finally get a chance to start somewhere, been behind Nick Chubb. So not sure I'd necessarily see that one going down. Now, another running back who right now, Ramondre Stevenson. And look, we talked about that kid. He is quite talented. Pissed that they got him. But, he's pushed Damian Harris down the depth chart, and maybe he's expendable. So maybe the Eagles go after a guy that his expiring contract's coming up. Maybe they want to give him another deal. He and Miles, that'd be quite a 1-2 punch, my Lord. But then what do you do with Kenny Gainwell? All those other things. So I don't know, man. If I necessarily think the Eagles need to go after a running back. In my opinion, I don't feel we need to. I'd like to see what Trey Sermon's doing, but if they don't like what he's got, maybe we go after one of these sure damn things. And I'm not against it, man, at all. And you see Damien Harris, only missed 3 games. Well, didn't start 3 games in the 33 that he's played. And he's almost got 2,000 rushing yards. And he is fun to watch, man. He's a tough dude. So Thunder and Lightning, that would be nice to see. So maybe you'd have to give up one of our backs, Kenny Gainwell. I'm not sure, but Damien Harris, that would be intriguing. Then you've got Melvin Gordon. Maybe, he's pissed off that they started him, only used him a few carries. Yeah, Latavius Murray signed off the practice squad, was getting more action than him. So, hey, look, maybe he's washed. I don't know. But 29 years old out of Wisconsin. And we know this dude, when he played for the Chargers, he was awesome to watch. And if you had him in fantasy, you know that he can do it all. So you see his stats, dude. He can, obviously run and catch, but he can block as well. I like Melvin Gordon. I wouldn't be against that. Kind of reminds you of bringing a Jordan Howard in. So maybe the Eagles want to do something like that. Again, the money's not something you got to worry about. Move that around. Another guy we talked about a week ago, David Montgomery. Sign me up for this young man. He and Miles Sanders together would be quite a 1-2 punch, but I'm not sure how he would feel about that, losing time to Khalil Herbert. Not sure that he's complained, but the Bears are pretty atrocious right now, so maybe they're looking to get some draft capital to try to build around Justin Fields for the future, and Khalil Herbert is pretty talented, so maybe David Montgomery is expendable, and we'll see what that price tag would be, but maybe you could give up a 4th, maybe even a 5th, and get David Montgomery here. And look, he can do it all as well. That's kind of the narrative of, the backs I looked for, but with a little bit more of a tougher edge was kind of what I was looking for, because I think that's what the Eagles could go for. But again, this is on the bottom. These are the bottom 10. We're about to get to the 10th here. So you see Cordero Patterson up next. This is a guy we talked about on IR right now. When he comes off, look, he's been in the league 10 years, but still got a lot on them tires because he wasn't used much in the beginning, mostly a returner. But this guy runs tough as hell. He has really turned into an explosive running back, 6'2", 220. He's tough as nails, man. And I really love watching Cordero Patterson, and he can do it all. Obviously, running, catching the ball. Look at that. 5.2 yards per rush, 18.1 yards per game when that's just receiving as a running back, 9.8 yards per reception. He is really explosive. This is the kind of guy you can use him in a multitude of ways. I think Nick Sirianni would have a great time. And then, of course, Michael Clay could use him as well, because you have Miles Sanders here. If you held on to him, you could use him as a kick returner, which we know he is one of the best of our lifetime to watch. This guy, he can get it done. So hasn't been doing it because of the fact that, they've got a talented returner there in Atlanta. But look, Cordero Patterson, man, he can still do it. So maybe the Eagles go after someone like him. We'll see what that injury looks like. But hey, that would do well for him to be a backup running back, because it looks like that's what he's going to be anyway in Atlanta, but also used as a returner. So up next, we are going to change the narrative a little bit to return specialists. These guys, yes, there's going to be a couple of receivers and a couple of running backs in here, but these are strictly for their return game. Giving up chump change for these guys, not even using them as a receiver, running back. And sure, maybe you could try to at times, but this is strictly for their return capability. So maybe a Marquez Callaway could be used. I think, he has got 23.5 yard return average and a 10.6 return average when punting. I think he is really, really talented. And you guys have seen this kid. I think he would do well for this special teams unit. This is somewhere, if the Eagles want to improve, get a kick returner, go ahead, get you Marquez Callaway. You could still use Covey. Now, here's a guy, Amari Rogers, out of Clemson, really talented, 3rd round pick, but 5'9", 212, little rocket. But they've got a lot of interesting pieces in Green Bay. A lot of young guys, Romeo Doubs, Christian Watson there, some veteran players too there. They've got Alan Lazard, Sammy Watkins, but maybe he's expendable. They use him as a returner, and he is fun to watch in the return game. Those stats don't jump off at you, but telling you, he's explosive, and maybe that's somebody they're looking to get rid of. I don't know. Some teams are looking for draft picks. We've got him. We're looking to improve that return game. That could be someone. Now, I mentioned the Falcons have themselves a pretty good returner. That's why they don't need to use Cordero Patterson, but they've got Avery Williams there, and he is a running back for them now, but they've got Damian Williams coming back. Cordero Patterson's coming back. So maybe if Patterson's not going, Avery Williams is going. Now, he played defensive back for the Falcons last year, and I was like, I remember this dude because he was a return man for them last year too. But they switched him to running back, so he can help all over the place. And that's the name of the game here at the Eagles. Versatility is the way to go. So this dude doesn't cost anything. He wouldn't cost you anything to trade for, but he can provide depth at running back, nickel corner, free safety, and he can be your return man. Kick return, punt return, he can do both, and he can do them well. So 21.7 yards per kick return, 12 per punt return. So I like that kid, and it wouldn't cost you much. And if that's an area they're looking to improve, there you go, Avery Williams. Now, this dude right here, we talked about him last week, Jamal Agnew. This is straight up weapon. Another guy that was converted from a defensive back when he was in Detroit to a running back, wide receiver. Now he's a receiver with the Jags. So we saw him when they had Zay Jones out a few weeks ago when we played him. And this dude is very talented, and he can be used not only in the offense, emergency defense, but he is explosive as hell in the return game. You see his career stats. He's got 2 kick return touchdowns, 4 punt return touchdowns. So if you could pry him out of Doug Peterson's hand somehow, give me some Jamal Agnew. I would be all about it. If you wanted to improve the return game, that would be it right there. Now, the last guy as the returner we're going to talk about, I know we talked about Kareem Hunt, but what about another running back there? Got a lot. And Jerome Ford is coming back from, I think he's on IR or PUP, one of those things, but they're getting him back. That's going to push D'Ernest Johnson even further down. But this dude, he's another one that's really talented and just happens to, unfortunately, be down the depth chart there because they've got even better running backs. But he is somebody that really provides a spark in the run game, but he can help you as a running back as well. He can catch the ball. I really think that D'Ernest Johnson, that would be, a sleeper pick. Well, a trade that I think, the Eagles, I would be pretty happy with them if they did that. And again, it's not somewhere where I feel we need to go there. But if you want to get somebody that can actually bring you, I feel, he could be your kick returner, and Covey could help you out as the punt returner. And man, that would make me happy because they bring that depth, obviously as a slot guy and as a running back. So I'm all about it, man. All about it. Avery Williams is intriguing, but with the Jags, let him go. Jamal Agnew. Well, that's always the problem here, my man. You have to be willing to part ways, and I don't know if they are. But these are some teams that maybe they are, maybe they're not. But if the Eagles really do want to go after somebody, that's also a scenario I was looking at. So just some potential targets for you. But now the position I feel that if you really wanted to improve somewhere, safety depth. Now, a name that keeps being brought up, and he is one of my favorite safeties to watch, Jeremy Chinn. I love the dude, but I'll be real with you. I don't think the Panthers are going to give him up. I feel like Brian Burns, they could be a big part of their future. But if the right price comes, maybe they'd give him up. I know they just got rid of McCaffrey, but I think they were willing to move on with him. Some of these defensive pieces they have, though, J.C. Horn, Chinn, Burns, I think you could really build something special for the future. So, I love him. Trust me, I love this dude. I do, but I don't know, guys. I don't think that the Eagles are going to trade for Jeremy Chinn. I'd love to see it, and he's hurt right now. So for me, yes, I would love it, but maybe it would be another Panthers guy. So I'm not counting Jeremy Chinn on this list, just like I didn't with Alvin Kamara. So let's get into the final 5 here. Maybe a different safety from the Panthers, Juston Burris. Playing in his 7th year, a 4th-round pick out of North Carolina State. I know he's not somebody, his stats aren't going to jump off the page at you. He's only started 33 games out of 78, but dude, he brings you the versatility at safety, and I think that he's somebody that can help you as a nickelback. You need that in this multiple scheme defense, and he's actually a good tackler too, so that's something we need. I think, obviously only 1 sack, but you could still send him on some blitzes. We don't do too much of that, but this is somebody who would provide depth, and that's what I'm looking at here. So we talked about DeAndre Houston Carson last week, the Bears safety. Now, I didn't want to include him this week because I feel like he's really low end, and we talked about it wouldn't cost anything. If they really were going to go after a free safety nickelback guy like him, I think on the Bears, I think he would have been included with Robert Quinn in that trade. So for me, I don't have him anymore, but we're going to talk about another guy. To be honest, Jimmy, I only care about Kareem Hunt and his instant production and in the offense. Peace. We got Randy. Jeremy Chin would cost what? A second? Well, I think it would definitely have to cost something like that because he's still very talented. He's not a bust in any way, shape, or form. So I don't think they're parting ways with him. I wanted to throw him up there because people want to talk about him, but I use that as a segue to talk about Justin Burris. So a different Panthers guy on my mind now, a different Bears safety people are talking about. And look, I'd love to have Eddie Jackson out of Alabama. This dude is 6 year, but he is freaking talented. I love watching Eddie Jackson. He is just a ball hawk playmaker. You see the stats right here, man. Sure, only a couple sacks, but 14 tackles for a loss, 13 interceptions, 36 passes deflected, 10 forced fumbles, 6 recovered. Dude's got 6 defensive touchdowns. I believe 3 interception, 3 fumble recovery touchdowns. So, yeah, he gets it done. That's somebody that if the Eagles really want to start using 3 safety sets, a lot of multiple scheme stuff that we've talked about, man, oh, man, you could do some things with C.J. Gardner-Johnson as a corner again. I definitely would be all about adding a Eddie Jackson. If, you could obviously work around his money, some things that, you always talk about, those teams are going to have to pay a big chunk of it. So that's not something we're going to worry about right now. Now, another safety maybe being moved out because of Duron Harmon and Trevon Moehrig there. You've got John Abram, man. And this is a dude playing in his 4th year out of Mississippi State, and he's still really talented. And this would be a guy that, again, you could play more 3 safety sets with if that's what the Eagles wanted to do. And he started all 34 games that he's played. He's only got 3 interceptions there. You don't see crazy stats popping off at you, but I think John Abram, that'd be a guy, if you could get a day 3 pick for John Abram, maybe a swap there on day 3, I would be okay with that. But I'm more interested in something we have been talking about for a while now. And of course, now that it's the holiday season, that's right, trade season, it's holiday season around these parts. We're going to talk about the 2 guys I feel the Eagles could definitely and should definitely go after here. So, yes, he definitely hits hard for sure. How old is he? I have no idea. You'll have to rewind it and go check it out. Let me go. Hold on. Let me find it for you. It's 28. So 28 years old. Now, into the safeties I wanted to talk about with return capability. So you get yourself 2 needs I feel the Eagles have right now, and that is safety depth and a returner, and specifically a kick returner. So I'm all about the Eagles improving this team. I still feel perfectly fine if we don't make any more moves, but this is just to talk about before the deadline, some moves that could. So let's get into the final 2 guys. One of them, Desmond King, defensive back, and he can help you as a nickel corner, free safety. But that return ability is what really intrigues me about him because he can bring both. 6 year in the league, only 27 years old, of Iowa, 5th round pick. But this dude, not only talented on defense, so he can bring you some starter snaps. He started 43 games out of 84, so over half the games he's played. But, 8.5 sacks there, 8 interceptions, 3 touchdowns, 20 tackles for a lot. You see the dude is a playmaker, 3 forced fumbles, 5 recovered, all over the place. I really like Desmond King. I think he would not only help this defense, but also this special teams unit. I remember having him a couple years ago on my fantasy team. This dude, because we have defensive players and we get return stats too. So nice little trick I had there. But you see over 1,200 kick return yards, mark of the beast in the punt return yards, but he's got 2 punt return touchdowns. This guy, I would be all about the Philadelphia Eagles adding him. Up next, this guy, I think would bring you versatility at safety more than where Desmond King would bring you versatility as a corner and safety. Now, Peppers can do the same. They can do a lot of things the same, But a little different here. I think Peppers not only brings you the safety help I would love, but he is a beast as a returner as well. So give me either one. Don't really care, to be honest with you. I think King or Peppers would be fantastic. But see Peppers only 27 as well. We remember him from Michigan, first round pick, old Browns, and then the Giants, of course. But he has not been playing for the Patriots. So look, if he's expendable, go after him. You see 4.5 sacks, 21 tackles for a loss, 13 quarterback hits, 25 deflections, 4 interceptions, and a touchdown there on defense. But again, he brings you that returner ability. Look at that. 22 yards per return, 8.3. Look, I know. Some of you don't like him. He used to play for the Giants, whatever it is. But I really think that it would be nice to bring in some competition here in the return game and also some safety depth there. So Desmond King can help you as one of those guys like a Josiah Scott that, can obviously play free safety. He could help you as nickel corner. So I'm all about it. I'm perfectly fine with adding pieces that actually fit. So those were the pieces I felt would fit, and the ones I didn't, I mentioned them too. So talked about those. Desmond King, yep, all about it, my man, all about it. And I think it wouldn't cost you too much, but he is talented. I think, probably, as I had mentioned, a day 3 pick. So if you're looking at, a 4th round pick for someone like Desmond King, I'm perfectly fine with that because he can give you starter reps. Jabril Peppers, dude, I'm trading a 6th round pick. I'm giving up, pick swap, whatever with him. That's, I perfectly... I don't think it's going to cost too much for him. He is falling out of the rotation there. I think we could find a usage for him, though. Fine with him being ex-Giant. We have Brad. Yeah, exactly. Yep, all about it. But that was it. All aboard the train, ladies and gentlemen. Trade deadline is coming. So those were your top 20 potential trade targets with a couple of honorable mentions sprinkled in there. But I hope you enjoyed all that. I'm going to get myself back to the Sixers game. Go spend some more time with the family. But I hope you're all having yourselves a great weekend. You have any questions, any comments, anybody else you want to talk about that you think the Eagles should trade for, please feel free to comment down below. Would love to hear your thoughts, but appreciate each and every one of you taking the time this weekend, this beautiful Saturday night, although it was freezing as hell out there. Drew, Randy, everybody that tuned in, whether you're watching live, whether you're watching this later, I appreciate each and every one of you. If you guys enjoy this content, do me a favor, hit that like button. How about those Astros losing last night? That's right, Devlin. Phillies all the way. That was beautiful. Got to admit, man, Verlander giving that up. They had a 5-0 lead. Blew it, I guess, without the trash cans and the wires. The Astros couldn't get it done. You love to see Castellanos at the end there lifting his shirt after the win, showing we do not need to cheat to win. You guys saw my tweet, right? When the Phillies made the World Series, I said, look, the Eagles took out the cheating Patriots. Let's see the Phillies take out the cheating Astros. So it's going to be beautiful. Great call by Devlin. Phillies coming in for a big World Series win. So I hope you guys enjoyed that game last night. I sure did. Sixers got themselves a win as well. We're also going to see the Sixers win tonight. And then, of course, the Eagles win tomorrow. I can only imagine it did. Your best pitcher out there, and this team just showing the heart they have, dude. Yeah, no doubt. But I think that we're going to be just fine. Don't worry about it. It is going to be the Phillies winning all the way. But I hope you're all having yourselves a great night. Go Phillies, go Sixers. But if you guys need anything, you can always reach out, whether it's to talk about the birds, you want to talk about life. But yeah, I appreciate each and every one of you. And tomorrow, I will be back around 11:30 once we get the inactives, all that great stuff. We will be talking about all that, give you the score prediction and everything else you will need to know. So I hope to see you pregame, ready for the Eagles to beat some Steelers. I know I'm jacked up, ready to go. But again, if you need anything, feel free to reach out. I'm going to get heading out here, guys. Until next time, I'm Jimmy Smith, and this is On the Road to Victory. You stay safe out there, and as always, go Birds!